Hi everybody. Today we are talking about the subject, how to keep going if you are a caregiver or a person who has a lot of health problems when it might seem that there is just so much going on. Maybe you're having a day where the odds seem stacked against you, where you're exhausted and you're just not sure if you can keep going or if you can succeed. Now, the answer to this question, how to keep going, obviously depends on your individual situation, what your problem is, and what you want the outcome or the resolution of that problem to be. Let me share a couple of examples. Maybe your parent needs a different doctor or maybe a specialist. And because you have no experience finding doctors, you may be finding out that an appointment with a specialist can be 1 or 2 or 3 months into the future. So now you're looking at this health problem and you're thinking, oh my gosh, mom or dad has a health problem. We can't see a doctor for 3 months. What kinds of problems is that going to cause? Maybe you're a person who's just received a diagnosis, and let's use type 1 diabetes. You're trying to manage your food, your exercise, your stress levels, your water consumption, you're taking medications, you're looking at your blood sugar readings, and the numbers, instead of going down, just keep going up. And you're so frustrated because you're doing all this work and nothing's happening. And so you may be in a position where you're thinking, why do I even bother? Now, number 3, maybe you care for a parent who never really had good health habits and you're trying to convince mom or dad that they should eat better and exercise and do some things that they've never really done that are just kind of out of character for them. And it's a struggle for you and it's a struggle for them. And you're putting a lot of physical and mental energy into this and you're thinking, why am I bothering? Nobody else seems to care. In all of these situations, the ability to keep going and to be persistent is the key to success. If that outcome or what you want to happen, which we can call a goal, if that is important to you, but it also has to be important to the person that you're helping, because if you have mismatched goals, if you're not on the same page, then it's going to be more frustrating for you to keep persisting at something. You're going to feel like you're banging your head up against a brick wall because the other person's not participating. So the first thing to do here is make sure that everybody is on the same page. And then if you're still struggling, there may be things that are getting in the way, like stress, worry, negativity, not believing that you can actually accomplish this. In the midst of that, being able to control your emotions and impulses is important when you think of getting to that end goal. And so with respect to controlling emotions and impulses, there may be days when you've just wanted to scream at somebody at the doctor's office or tell off the person who's on the other line at the insurance company because you've already been transferred 8 or 9 times, and like every person you talk to, you're having to repeat the entire story. And they're not able to help you, so they're going to transfer you to person number 10, 11, and 12. Nobody's helping. I understand. So during this video, I'll share the idea of persistence to get what you want, assuming it's a goal that you want, by talking about 3 things. One is the process of elimination. So moving beyond people who maybe are not helpful and finding the right person to help would be an example of that. Number 2 is to balance as much as possible all the emotions and the frustrations and just the anger of being in this impossible situation that you're not sure that you can manage. And then number 3, we'll talk about how to find hope. So stay with me all the way to the end of this video to learn how to get some momentum going, to be persistent, and to get the help that you want and need and deserve. If this is your first time here, I'm Pamela D Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker, and I help adults and caregivers work through their health, financial, legal aspects of caregiving, including navigating family and provider relationships. You can learn more about me and my professional experience in aging caregiving, the related aspects of financial and legal planning by scrolling down below this video. There's links to my website, my bio, ways to schedule a one-to-one consultation with me. Please do me a favor, like this video, follow my channel, share these and other videos, and comment, even if it's only to say thanks. Your participation helps these videos be found by other people throughout the world. A little thank you makes a big difference, and I appreciate that. So to begin, the level of persistence that we all give in getting to a goal that we want is important. Now, sometimes the goal can be really, really big, and if it is, it can seem like progress is not happening. So what you can do is take that really, really big goal and break it down into multiple steps, maybe 3 or 5 or 10, so that you feel like as you accomplish those little landmarks, you're like, oh, I got this done today. Tomorrow's another day, or next week is another week, right? Anything that you can do to keep yourself motivated is good. And then you've got to really think about, well, how important is this? Do I need to focus on this for a couple of days or a week and then return to working on other things? So it's really about prioritizing this thing that you're trying to do. And if it's important and you make it a priority, then how do you stop other people or events to distract you over here away from that goal? Now, if what you want is a low priority, then you may have a lot of distractions. You may not be telling yourself, well, I need to get this done today, or I need to get this done tomorrow. And you may be just thinking, well, whenever I get it done, I get it done. But then you may be more frustrated. So ask yourself some questions to kind of identify what I call your persistence history. So is your answer yes or no to these questions? I am persistent. I never give up. Yes or no? I feel that I must finish what I start in a timely manner. Yes? No. I am not discouraged by failures. I learn from failures and I keep going. If I decide to do something, I am committed. If I want to do something, I can persist. I will stay at it. I will do whatever it takes, whether it takes me a day, a week, a month, 6 months, a year. I overcome challenges by looking at my goals as one step at a time. So if you answered no to any of those questions, maybe you need a persistence boost. How do you do this? The first way is to have a growth mindset. Believe that you can overcome any roadblock, any obstacle placed in front of you. Something happens, I got this. I'll figure it out. I'll do it. Focus on that goal at the end, that what I call the long game sometimes. And know that it may take you longer to accomplish this than you thought. A lot of us have goals and we think, oh, it'll be so easy. But we don't realize that there's going to be obstacles and detours and things we could not have possibly predicted. So sometimes things take us way longer than we thought. And so within all of this and the ups and downs and the bounce backs and everything, you have to learn how to be resilient, to say, well, that happened, I get it. I'm going to keep going down that path. And a way to think about this is think about people who compete in sports, whether it's tennis or football or baseball. A golfer misses a putt. that tennis ball goes out of bounds. Quarterback throws an interception, or somebody fumbles the football, or baseball player strikes out. These people, if they're playing on a nationally televised game, they can't throw a tantrum. They can't say, oh my gosh, right? They have to stay composed, and they have to keep going and going and going. So kind of think of yourself as being in a competition to win, right? You're competing against everybody else out there who's trying to throw a wrench in your game, who's trying to knock you down and make you fumble. You are competing against other people who may not have similar interests to get to your goal. So think of being a caregiver or caring for yourself like you're in competition, right? Everybody relies on you. If you're caring for yourself, then there's really nobody else who's going to step into your shoes today or tomorrow and take over. While you might have people who will support you, you're the quarterback. You're the leader. You're the person who has to make something happen for you. Similarly, being a caregiver for another person, it's a big responsibility. You've got to take care of yourself and your health, because if you don't, you're not going to be at the top of your game. You're not going to be at a competitive level to be able to keep going when all this gets tough. And look at this level of persistence in part as setting a goal that can require setting some boundaries and some parameters. So in looking at all this persistence and how do I keep going and going in spite of all this craziness, the first tip is to eliminate anything that is not helping you get there. Because today, so many distractions. How often do you start something and then some shiny object or some distraction comes up over here and you're like, oh, I started this, but now my phone rang and I got an email over here and my dog's barking and my kids are screaming and then like 3 hours go by and you're like, I got nothing done. So ask yourself what distracts you. Is it people, sounds, emails, text messages? There's so many distractions that can take us away from this goal that we want to complete. So prioritize it. Make some you time and go off in a room. Sit at a table, sit at your desk, turn off all the outside stimulation and just work on this thing so that you can feel like you're making progress. Trying to reach a goal or get something done can also take learning to adapt to situations that don't work out the way that you expect. So rather than being surprised by something not working out the way you expect, start playing out various scenarios. Like, if this happens, I can do X, or if this happens, I can do Y, and if Y happens, I'm going to do ABC. Think about the different ways that situations can work out so that you have this backup plan immediately when something happens. And then all along the way, just keep telling yourself, I am persistent. I never give up. I'm not going to give up. Now, sometimes you can become stuck a little bit because you might lack information. Maybe you haven't found the right person to help you. So that's another area where you want to be persistent in finding that outside help to help you get to this goal. So if you're here watching your video, or this video, you actually found your way here. You were persistent. You kept seeking and typing words into Google or however you found this video. You have a good foundation for how to search for information. Now, there's a lot of good information on my website at PamelaDWilson.com, so you can go there. So kind of thinking about that earlier scenario where a caregiver needed to find a new doctor or a specialist. Well, talk to your current doctor. Find out who they recommend. Maybe there is a nurse in the office who's making a recommendation. Maybe you can go on the website for your insurance company and search, a geriatrician or a cardiologist or whatever it is you are searching for. Because when you're in a caregiving role or trying to advocate for yourself, especially, with health and healthcare needs and insurance needs, there's a whole lot of other people out there who are involved. It's not just you. It's like you are the quarterback and you have all these people who are on your team, but maybe they're not really on your team, and you've got to get them to help you. So through all of this, the number 2 thing to remember is remain positive and hopeful. All of these glitches, these roadblocks, these things, they're going to happen. Things will happen that will get you down and knock you down. And if you haven't learned how to say, oh, that's okay, I'm going to do plan B or have a plan B, it's going to be a little harder for you. And honestly, I know I've been there. Some days, oh my gosh, one problem after another problem after another problem. And you're just like, you can't even focus because you're so scattered and your emotions are rising, and it's just such a challenge. It's extremely important to be able to just calm yourself down, look at that end goal on a piece of paper, and not allow all these little distractions or roadblocks to get you down. Because there's a lot of research out there that confirms that stress, no surprise, negative mood, thinking that you can't do it, can make being persistent and keeping going a little more difficult. Because why? We all get tired. We all get worn out. So think about how relevant this is in any area of your life where you're trying to do something. When you're tired, you don't get a good night's sleep, you're probably not at your best. Maybe you're not mentally sharp or patient, or you're just tired. You just want to find a place to go lay down and take a nap. You can't, your brain is just like shutting off and you can't even solve any new problems. Or maybe at that point you're feeling like so anxious or depressed that you're just like, you're buzzing with all this negative energy. And so you may be more emotional, or you may react negatively to something. You may be all over the place, just trying to figure out, what on earth am I going to do? And you're stressed. So again, in these situations, the idea is to refocus, get out that piece of paper, your plan, write down all the glitches that are happening, then look at, okay, what can I do about this? What can I do about that? How can I be more flexible and adaptable so I don't really get so upset when all of this happens? So instead of being just knocked down by all these problems, instead become motivated to overcome the problem, saying, you know what? I knew this could have happened. I knew that could have happened. It's okay. I'm not going to let that get me down. I'm going to keep going. So number 3 in all of this process is finding that hope, finding that inspiration when you're just about ready to give up and say, I'm done, I quit, right? Take these big goals and put them into little steps, 3, 5, 10. By checking off one of these, you can see yourself moving closer to success. And as you create these goals, put them on a calendar or attach them to a timeline so that you know up here that this is not going to last forever. It's a temporary situation. As soon as I get through this, yeah, there's probably going to be more things, but at least at the end of one day, you can look back and say, you know what? I got this done and I am awesome. Tomorrow is another day. Also go back and look at how you approached projects. Maybe when you were in school and you had to write a paper or study for a test. Did you do this well in advance, or were you always that last minute person who, the paper had to be in at 2 o'clock and you were there at 1:59, 30 seconds? By looking at how you approach things It can help you figure out, well, do I have this pattern where I always leave it till the last minute and then I'm like so stressed out? Might I want to consider maybe getting it done a week earlier than it's due? Then I can be like, whew, I got it done. I can go on to the next thing, and you reduce your stress levels. So your approach to planning and setting personal deadlines for yourself can help you maintain your persistence and to stay motivated and to say, I've set aside a week to get this done. In a week, I'm going to be done. You actually may surprise yourself. You may get it done in less than a week. Now, sometimes we're in a situation where we do things because it's like, we feel like we have to do it, or we're forced to do it. And so that can be like a opposite motivator. It's like, I don't want to do things that I don't want to do. But if you're a caregiver or a person with health issues, you know that sometimes things like have to go see the doctor, or have to go get blood work, or I have to get this test, or maybe you are somebody who goes for dialysis a couple times a week, or maybe you were diagnosed with cancer and you're like, oh my gosh, 6 to 9 months of treatment, this is going to be miserable. Well, I'm not saying that it's not going to be miserable, and I'm not saying that it's not going to be hard. But if you can look at what's over on the end of that, like possibly being cancer-free or feeling better or being, without a lot of constraints, just kind of focus on where you want to get and then figure out how to do the things in the middle. So sometimes what I do is I compartmentalize things. Like for me, I don't like to go to the dentist. I don't know about you, but if I'm only getting my teeth cleaned, that's like safe, right? Because it's just teeth cleaning. But if I have to go to get a filling or a cavity or maybe a crown or something, then it's like, oh my gosh, the injection. And then I got to sit in the chair and, it's going to be like not good, right? So what I tell myself is, okay, if my appointment's at 1 o'clock, by 3 o'clock, I'm going to be out of there and on to the next thing. So I kind of make these difficult things that I have to do in little time frames so that I know that, by the time tonight comes, I'll be finished. This is going to be done. Okay? And so that may be something helpful for you, is to like schedule these things or compartmentalize them and think of them as like, okay, I'm going to do this today, and then tomorrow it's going to be this and that. Now, there can also be things that you want to accomplish related to expectations where you're like, I feel obligated, but I would really rather not do this. If that's a caregiving situation you're in, it really is about setting boundaries and saying no instead of yes. The bottom line in all of this is to think about your goal. And are you helping or hurting by not being persistent and getting this done in a timely manner? What are the consequences of getting it done versus the consequences of not getting it done? And if you're a caregiver or a power of attorney or a guardian and you've got a legal commitment, then you probably have a higher standard, which means that your lack of action could potentially harm somebody. And so in those cases, it's really, really important to look at, what do I need to do? Is this logical and reasonable? And how am I going to do it? And how I'm going to stay motivated to do it? Then you have to obviously make sure that you have buy-in from the person that you're caring for. And above all, it's important to realize that you can't make other people do things. You can't make a parent take their medication or want to be healthy, or, make your spouse do something. As much as we would like to make everything right and fix everything, as a caregiver, we lack that control. We don't have control over everything, which is why we get so stressed out, right? And this is the consideration that most caregivers don't consider. Other people have a responsibility to their own care and their own well-being. It's not all on you. That responsibility is not all on you, unless, of course, you have taken it on. And if you've done that, you may have set an expectation that you're going to continue to do X, Y, and Z, and you need to maybe change that expectation. So be very thoughtful about your commitments and what you say yes to, the expectations you have of other people, what other people expect from you. Make sure that you have balance there, because that gives you more control. And above all, just in life, every day, be a little gentler, a little kinder, a little more patient, a little more considerate of yourself and of other people. So that whatever you've got going on there that you're trying to get done, it seems like it's so much of a struggle. And no matter how discouraged you might feel, just say, you know what, I've got this. I can do it. I'm going to keep going. I thank you all so much for being here. I'm Pamela D Wilson, a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. Please again do like this video, follow my channel, share my videos, comment, even if it's only to say thank you. Feel free to share your story too. I do respond to every comment. And go over to my website, PamelaDWilson.com. There is so much more helpful information there. I'll see you all again soon in another video.